everybody. This is the voice of Agra, and I'm super excited to start this town hall off. I'm one of the founders and CEOs of Splinterlands, and it's my pleasure. It's my joy. This is my baby. I love this thing. Love my community. These are exciting times. I got a number of folks that are regulars on the show that you might recognize. First and foremost among them is my partner, Matt. Matt, do you want to say hi? And just on the off case that somebody doesn't know who you are, you want to give a quick intro?
Hey, sure. Yeah. I'm the other co-founder of Splinterlands, currently chief product officer. So, now that Richard / Hardpoint has taken over the CTO role, my focus has been on making this product awesome, which is pretty much my whole life these days. So, glad to be here and share that with all you guys.
Awesome. And then on air as well, I imagine, is Nate and Chatter. So Nate, do you want to go kick us off and give a quick intro and tell us a bit about who you are?
Yeah, this is Nate, creative director for Splinterlands. That's the design, UX, UI, art, animation, all that good stuff, front end. And I'm excited to be here. I'm along with the rest of the community. Excited to hear from Matt.
Nice. And of course, the youngest member of our crew, and certainly the youngest looking member of our crew, is good Sir Liam. Chatter, do you want to go give a quick introduction and share youthfully who you are and what you do?
Hey everyone, Chatter or Liam here. I am the director of marketing over at Splinterlands. Also look like a 12-year-old with my little baby face over here, but good to see you all.
So it's a fantastic squad. I think we're going to have to get into this right away. There's a lot going on at Splinterlands. There's giant things happening left and right. Some of them we can talk about, some of them we can't. But I think one of the biggest things that have gone public and has gotten out there, and it has to be Validators. Validators is like what everybody's talking about, what everybody's excited about. It's just freaking amazing. I'm stoked for this thing. Matt, this is your baby. So you want to, how have you felt about the release so far? Have you gotten any sentiment from players or users? What are you thinking so far?
Well, I mean, I think the feedback and sentiment has been great. Ultimately, we'll see, when the licenses go on sale in May, and then once the validators actually get released, and people can start, using their licenses and earning rewards later this year, that'll kind of have the whole thing come full circle. Yeah, but overall, it's all part of an overall rethinking of the whole system and how we can build this truly player-owned and operated gaming system that we're trying to make here. And so obviously, the open source validator nodes that anyone independently is running is a extremely important part of that. So, kind of all the pieces are starting to come together through the course of this year, which I've talked about before, is the most excited that I've ever been in this game so far.
So, is there, I have a phrase, and my phrase is "people are the value," and that clouds every single decision I make. I always come back to how do we bring more value to users, and how do we make people the center part of this? When you're thinking of your product and your sort of validator design and where you want the game to go, or just the economy as a whole, do you have some kind of phrase that sits in your head that's driving you in your development, or are there a couple key rules that are high on your list?
I don't know if I have a phrase. I'm not the marketing guy here, but I guess everything that I do is focused around, having a sustainable economy and increasing asset values. I mean, that's pretty much everything. So I don't really look at, company revenues and sales and things like that, when I don't have to, because I just know very clearly that if, asset values are increasing and our players are making money, then the company will do well also. So the only focus is around how do we increase asset values. And that ultimately comes from two things, I guess. It's how do we get more value into the ecosystem, right? We need new players and we need players putting more money into the ecosystem. I avoid saying spending more, because that always sounds like, people buying things from us, the company, which is the old way, of running businesses and games. And here it's really just bringing value into the ecosystem. So if people come in and they buy cards on the market or they rent cards and they never buy a pack or anything from Splinterlands, that's fantastic too. So that's what we're looking at. I try to avoid the word spending, but it's really just adding value into the ecosystem in any way. And there's all sorts of different ways they can do that. I mean, buying SPS is one way. Buying validator node licenses, land, anything, just any way money is coming into the ecosystem is what we need to improve. And then on top of that, we need to design the economy to get the most value out of the money coming into the ecosystem as we can. So obviously there are some issues currently, with bots or multi-accounts and other different things that can kind of exploit the system. And so we're not really being efficient with all the value that has come into the system so far. Our highest priority items are, designed around fixing those things. So I think it's a combination of more value coming into the ecosystem plus being a lot more efficient with the value that is in the ecosystem. Is just like kind of all going to come together here.
So how does validators play into that for you? So what made you, I guess, what is the key benefit of running a validator node to kind of the public and the company and the ecosystem? And then, how does that play into your vision around, we want to bring value in, and this is how validators do it?
Yeah. So when we were, we had initially just gone with, hey, we're going to have a delegated proof of stake system like Hive or EOS or a whole bunch of other chains these days. And that definitely works well in certain instances. But I was really trying to think through the whole, everything I've learned from other projects and also, from projects like Hive, which obviously we're pretty intimately familiar with. And there were kind of a few issues that stuck out to me with just going with a simple delegated proof of stake system. I mean, one of the main ones was that there are very few, actual top voted validators. Like you look on Hive, the number of witnesses, which are the block producers, it's relatively small. There may be like 100 active ones, and a smaller percentage of those really have any meaningful amount of votes. And so, on the one hand, that helps like run the system, right? But on the other hand, it doesn't give anyone else incentive to run the software, which really helps, decentralize it and make it more distributed and all that stuff. And it also helps distribute the rewards. So one of the most important things to look at in a project, any proof of stake based project, is how the tokens are distributed, because that's ultimately what matters. I think there's a big misconception around DPoS chains like Hive that, like on Hive, for example, the top 20 witnesses, effectively like run the chain. They're the ones who produce the blocks and everything. So people think that, that's this small group of 20 people that control the entire chain. But that's not really the case. And ultimately, the control comes down to the token holders. This in Hive, the Hive power holders, because the top 20 witnesses, and we know, having been top 20 witnesses, have actually no real power to do anything other than what the token holders want them to do. If they don't, they'll get voted out, almost immediately. And even if the top 20 validators were to take over change the code and take over the system somehow, they can't really do all that much, because all the exchanges, everyone else will be running the old code, not the new code. And if the community is not with them, they'll just continue running the old code and vote out those validators, with new validators. So, or block producers in this case. So I just think it's important for everyone to understand that, no matter how the DPoS system ends up getting set up for validator nodes in Splinterlands, the real ownership and control of the system comes down to the people who own and stake SPS tokens. So I look at they're sort of like the board of directors, and they elect a CEO and a CTO. Those are the top validators. But ultimately, the board of directors, the token holders, have ultimate control over everything. So then, you have to look at, well, how distributed are the tokens? Do a couple people own all the tokens? And then they basically control the chain, which is equivalent to Steemit Inc. controlling, almost all or the majority of the tokens on Steam. And I think in the SPS ecosystem, we have a really good distribution. I mean, we purposely limited the private sale investors to relatively small amounts. Obviously, Agro and I and have a decent amount, but not anywhere near like a controlling amount. Even together. And just with the way the airdrop worked and is continuing to go, the tokens are really well distributed. And all this big long interlude was to say that was another reason why we kind of wanted to sell these licenses and not just have it be all the rewards going to the top voted validators, because then it gets into a situation where this small group of people are just earning this larger and larger share of the tokens, and it hurts our distribution. So, by selling the validator nodes, we allow kind of everyone in the community to participate, even if they wouldn't otherwise be like getting a lot of votes. And it helps spread it around. It helps get more copies of the code running more places around the world and distribute the system. And then also, when I say selling it, again, it's not money coming into the company. It's just more value coming into the ecosystem by acquiring and burning SPS and voucher tokens. So again, like everything is focused around how do we increase the value of the assets. So this is that how we're doing that. And it should be hopefully like a flywheel type system or like a virtuous cycle type system, where people want to get SPS and vouchers to get the node licenses, which should hopefully reduce the supply and increase the value of the SPS token, which just makes higher and higher tranches of the validators more valuable, which then causes more people to want to get SPS to get those, and so on and so forth. So we're really just looking forward to getting this effect going. And we've seen how it worked. There's a number of other projects. I'm not going to name names, but there's a number of projects that have done validator nodes that we studied kind of very closely, that have done very well, and tried to put this all together within Splinterlands. So we'll have in my opinion, sort of a best of both worlds thing, where we both have the validator node licenses that allow people to run it, and then separately we have the DPoS system, where you don't even have to have a license. You can just run a node for free, and if you get a bunch of staked SPS to vote for you, you can validate blocks and earn rewards that way. So it's kind of like there's two different paths that people can go, which is also something we like to do, is give as many options as possible.
So how did we come up with the size or scale of this thing? Right, there's like $1 billion worth of tokens that are going to be burnt. There's tranches, there's vouchers, and the vouchers have different values. Like, where does all this stuff come from? Like, how do we model this? How do we come up with this? And how do we know that this is the way that, like, we think, okay, well, we got some governance, we got some licenses for everybody, it's still open to the public, but then how did we nail down scale?
Well, the good thing about, this is all like a free market economy system, which is something we're trying to make sure exists in all aspects of the game. But with that system, it kind of doesn't matter. So our goal was to have validator node licenses be available for like many, many years to come, right? We don't want, maybe the first, pre-sale thing might sell out rather quickly. Maybe a tranche or two sells out in the near future, but as the price increases, we'll get to a point pretty quickly where it's just not, you're not going to earn a good return spending $5,000 or $10,000 on a license just with the current value of SPS. I mean, even if it goes up a bit, it would have to go up considerably to make that earn a reasonable return on investment. And that's fine. So they'll probably sit there at some point, and they'll be available for sale, but maybe there won't be many sold, for a period of time. But then hopefully, as we continue to improve the game and improve the product, our goal is and has always been that the SPS token will continue to increase in price on third-party markets along with the growth of the product. And at some point, those higher price validator nodes will then have a better return, and people will start buying them again. So it'll just be like slowly they'll go over the course of some number of years, along with a hopeful increase in the third party market price of SPS. But then that mechanism of people getting SPS to get the validator nodes and burning it will just be a constant thing. It won't be like for a few months or 1 year and it's done. It'll just be an ongoing positive pressure in the ecosystem, for who knows how many years. And maybe we never get to the last tranche. That's fine. Honestly, if we get anywhere close to it, things will be amazing. Beyond belief compared to where we are now. But that's kind of what we were thinking. It's like, let's just extend this out to see, years and years in the future, assuming we can potentially get to really just huge growth over time.
Is there a part of this that you're the most excited about? Like you geek out about a lot of the stuff inside Splinterlands, and you have geeked out more about validators than basically anything else. Like what's the thing that's like, you've got like a new fire underneath you and you're pretty excited and you're bullish on the game in ways that you've always been like, it's never going to work and everything's terrible. But now it's like, holy shit, this stuff is going. What's the thing underneath that? What's got you like, so that you're finally feeling like, holy crap, this is going to kill it?
I mean, the thing for me is this is what we kind of wanted to build from day one, ultimately. And obviously when we started, it's going to be 4 years next month, which is crazy when you think about it. But like when we started, we had sort of this in mind, but we didn't know how to do it. And, we spent our time trying to build out the game and get everything working. And it was like a lot of experimentation, for like the first 3.5 years almost of this product. And now I finally feel like, a combination of having experimented in Splinterlands for 3 years, plus like seeing all these things happening in other projects. We've gotten, back in 2018 when we launched, like there were not, many DAOs, there weren't any DeFi projects. Like we couldn't look for other examples to like help us figure out what are the best like tried and true ways to do this stuff. And it was always kind of stressful for me because we're doing this. A lot of people have put a lot of money into it. And like, I never really felt like I knew exactly how to make it all work the way we had like initially envisioned. And at this point, especially a big thanks to Richard, now that I've been able to focus on these things a lot more, I think we have a clear path. Like, I know I've looked at all these other projects. I've taken all the things that I think worked well, the things that make sense in Splinterlands. We've kind of put them all together in the specs and designs for how we build it out. This is everything, not just it's validator nodes, it's the economy, it's, player experience, it's, how we're going to handle assets and, security. Like all these things have sort of now come together, and I'm sort of clear on how we can build this and how we can finally achieve the vision that we had almost 4 years ago now. And so like that's super exciting because now it's just a matter of we have to build it, right? Which is actually, obviously it's not easy to build all this and get all this working at the scale we're looking at, but that's much easier than like trying to figure out how we even or what to build at all in the first place, or if it's even possible. So that's why like I'm super excited. It's been just this rush of like all these things, like how fast can I design out and spec out all these different parts and help all the new developers we have and designers, come put all these pieces together. And like it's sort of like I see the light at the end of the tunnel finally. It was like first for a while we were trying to even find the beginning of the tunnel, and then we were like in the tunnel and had no idea how long if this tunnel would go or if it would ever end or we'd ever get out of it. And now I'm like, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's happening. We're moving forward on the development of these pieces. I think the majority of it's going to come together by the end of this year, although definitely some things will go off into the future. And so like that's the most excited I've been, since we started this, I think, because I just finally see it coming together, and I hope the community does too. So I apologize for only being on the town halls once a month, but that's also part of, it does take like a lot of time out of my day, to be here and talk to you guys. And I also feel like every week is a little much in that, like, I'm just kind of being a broken record, repeating things.
No worries.
But
We're glad to have you for the month. So what are the pieces that, so you say, I finally know the pieces. If you had to like say just the kind of highest level buckets of pieces that we still have to build and put into place, what are the, at the high level, what are the pieces that need to be implemented? Or like, are there
yeah.
steps or stages where like stage one validators, stage two, or what is on your brain as your like the next biggest things that you need to tackle?
Well, so validators, yeah, is the probably the biggest piece, and we're only starting with the SPS token, and then probably also voucher tokens because those are kind of paired with SPS. But that is only like a first phase of the validators. So obviously that's the first one. SPS is sort of separate and new, so it's an easier, lower hanging fruit. But once that's all running, then the next phase is going to be all assets in Splinterlands will be added into the validator nodes. So the people running this software will not only be validating all the transactions for SPS and voucher tokens, but also dark energy crystals, land, and all the cards, and basically every fungible and non-fungible token in the game will all be included in this open source validator code package that anyone can run around the world. So that's again like back to the original vision of the game, is that, and as a player, like that makes it truly this player owned and operated ecosystem. And when we get to that point, it'll also be much easier and possible for people to make forks of the game, right? Which is something that, like, when we talk to investors and things, everyone's kind of like scared about that. They're all, no, you have to have proprietary software and everything, has to be closed and secrets and get patents and all these things. And I look at it just as a player, right? That's all I care about. That's why we built this, because like we want a game that like has all this cool stuff. So one of the cool things is the ability for people to make a fork of it. Like if someone forks Splinterlands because they want to change something, and the change that they make is really cool, and other people like it, then awesome. Then we could look at do we include that change in the main fork, or what do we do? But it's sort of like, I look at it as like, in Magic the Gathering, there was a group of players that came up with the commander type of play. So it's like a different type of game style with the same Magic cards. And it just became so popular and successful that Wizards of the Coast, the company behind Magic, incorporated it into the game. So that's sort of where the power and innovation comes from in the blockchain and crypto space, is the fact that if like everything is open and available to everybody, people can iterate on it and try different ideas and do new things. And it just helps make the product ultimately that much better. So that, these are all kind of the reasons why I'm super excited right now.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot that's going on, a lot that we're building. Our vision is clear, and I think you're right. It's about executing. It's about knowing, here are the various pieces. Let's put them all together. And I think like the last time that we blew up 10x, it was like this, and finally that piece comes in, and bam, you 10x. I think we're going to see that again, where it's like, okay, we need this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece, but when they're all working together, like that's just a huge, it's just a huge growth spurt that happens, and I think that's what we're trying to do, for assets, for the ecosystem, for the number of players, for just every metric that we care about. It's like, well, what are the big pieces that we need to put in place? All right, so I've asked you about validators, and I've asked you kind of some things in general. Is there anything that I should have asked, or anything that I missed while trying to piece this thing together? Like, what did I miss anything?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we haven't like put out the official post about, but we've been talking about, is like the new ranked reward system. So like the last question you asked was, what are the kind of pieces we need to put in place? And I talked only about validators, but another piece is obviously the economy of the game itself. So we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, do it. Go for it.
All right. So just to I'll recap a little what I talked about last month on the call, but again, as I've transitioned away from keeping the lights on and servers running to more like chief product officer and reviewing the product, I really wanted to look into all the issues we have with, whether it's bots or multi accounts or, farming rewards and people, moving cards around, shuffling cards to different accounts to get collection power and, getting higher season rewards or daily quests or all those different things. Like ultimately, to me, all those things are different manifestations of some core underlying issue with the economy of the system. And in the past, we had just kind of, we were so busy with all these things, we just would band-aid lots of things. A lot of the band-aids were to unfortunately just reduce the rewards, mostly in the lower leagues like bronze. And that doesn't fix the issue, right? That just, again, it's a band-aid. It also hurts legitimate players who aren't kind of exploiting the system because it applies to everybody. So, after really, really looking at this and discussing it with a bunch of people on the team, the real issue comes down to the starter cards that you can just play with, even though you don't own. And obviously, we put them in there because we want people to come in and play the game, right? Without try before you buy type of thing. And so initially we were like, okay, well, do we just get rid of the starter cards? And then that wasn't a great solution because then, people come in and, what do? They can't do anything. They can't participate. It was just a bad experience. So, ultimately we came up with the concept where you can still use the starter cards, but they won't earn rewards. And I'll get into that in a minute. But for those of you who might be like worried or concerned about why that's the issue, the starter cards basically are infinite card inflation essentially. Even though they're not real cards, right? They allow players to earn rewards. So players can make there's not really a realistic limit to the number of accounts that can be made. And then when they purchase the spell book, that money comes to the company, not to the ecosystem. So, as far as the ecosystem is concerned, this sort of unlimited amount of accounts can be made. No value goes into the ecosystem, yet more rewards are taken out of the ecosystem. So that is the underlying problem that I think is behind most of the issues we have in the game economy right now. So, by taking out the ability for starter cards to earn the rewards, it fixes that underlying issue, and it again allows a free market system to take hold. So that means that if all the accounts that come in now have to buy or rent actual cards in order to earn rewards, then it's great if someone makes has a bot army and makes 10,000 accounts. Because they have to put the money into the system, into the ecosystem, in order to earn the rewards on those accounts. And that will increase rental or card market prices. And that will make the rewards more valuable, which will encourage more people to come in and make accounts, and get cards. So again, it creates that same type of flywheel effect that we're looking for. And I see a question in the chat, which is a good segue, which is why I'm pulling it out. Don't start posting tons of questions in chat because I usually can't read them all while I'm talking. But, if you can still get season rewards or the daily quest rewards with the starter cards, the issue remains. And yes, absolutely. So that's why, as part of this project, we need to change how the season rewards and the daily quest rewards work. In order to be, they're going to work very similar to how the Dark Energy Crystal rewards work. So the idea with Dark Energy Crystal rewards is that you get a certain amount of reward shares or reward points for every battle. That's primarily based on your rating. So the higher your rating, the more reward shares you'll get. Then other things like, did you use gold cards or alpha cards where you want a win streak? There's guild bonuses. Those all apply to get as bonuses to give you more reward shares. And then the more reward shares you get, the more Dark Energy Crystals you get from the reward pool. So daily quests and season rewards are going to work this way too once these changes are released, which is where you'll earn these reward shares every battle based on the same formula as it is currently, and then those will accumulate to earn more chests from your daily quest and for your daily rewards. So if you have a daily quest that's like, Earth Splinter quest, then every battle you win with the Earth Splinter, you'll earn those reward shares. And then if you get to say like 100 or something, you'll get another chest. And then if you get to 200, you'll get a second chest, etc. So as you keep playing, you'll keep earning more reward chests for both your season reward and your daily quest reward. And this way, the starter cards, every starter card you use in a battle will reduce your reward shares. So that way, the starter cards, no longer they take away, they reduce your earnings, not just for dark energy crystals in battles, but also for quests and season rewards. And there's a lot that goes into the system, and I'm sure you guys have all sorts of questions and all sorts of ways that this can possibly be exploited. We have been talking with our team, talking with everyone about all these things, right? And we've been trying to work through all these different potential issues that might come up. And I think we have a really solid system. It's more than I can go into detail about right now, but it's currently in the development process. It's come hell or high water going to be released in May, I think I can say. And we'll have a very detailed post at some point when all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed with all the information, so everyone can look at it. But ultimately, the takeaway from me, at least, that I hope you guys share, is that I think if we can fix these underlying issues with the system, what that allows us to do is increase the rewards across all the tiers, some of them considerably, including bronze. And then it'll all be managed by the free market. So let's say we increase the rewards too much. Well, really, there is no too much, because if the rewards are very high, it'll just incentivize more people to get more cards, right? And they can't just create more accounts now without putting money into the ecosystem to get these rewards. They're going to have to buy or rent cards in order to get more of these rewards. So if the rewards are very high, and rental prices or card prices are low, people will just arbitrage that. They're going to start renting cards and buying cards like crazy in order to earn those rewards, until it naturally gets to a point where it's just not as profitable to buy or rent cards now that the price went up so much. But also, as card prices go up, the reward value will go up too, since a lot of the rewards are in cards. So again, hopefully it creates yet another flywheel situation, where everything kind of starts to go better and just increase among itself. I'll talk also about like the increase in rewards. We're still working on the numbers. Plucktor there, who you can see on the main stage, is new to the team and has been really helping me out on designing this economy and doing all the spreadsheeting for these numbers. But like we're targeting like pretty huge increases in the rewards that players across the different leagues will earn on average from the chests. And it's really heavily weighted to the higher tiers. We really want to encourage people, instead of making 10,000 accounts with like no or very few cards, we want to encourage people to spend that same amount of money getting like one or a couple accounts up into Champion League. So to do that, we're really boosting the rewards in the higher leagues, and not just the amount of rewards, but also the higher chances of getting reward cards, higher chances of getting legendary reward cards, higher chances of getting gold foil reward cards. So like in Champion, you'll have a much higher chance of getting gold foil legendary reward cards in chess than you would in lower leagues like silver or bronze. You'll have higher chances of getting Chaos Legion packs and all these different things. So we really our goal is to incentivize people to move up as much as possible rather than create more accounts. And I think that will just, really, really help improve everything in the system. And you add kind of this flywheel going with the economy plus SPS with validators, and the node licenses and everything, and like you kind of put all these together, and we're hoping that it will lead to a period of huge growth again, like we saw last year.
Awesome. I think for the sake of time, I'm going to move on to some of the other team members and make sure everybody gets to chime in. But to sort of also continue on this riff for a bit, I think this is a good time to go introduce Plucktor. Pluck, you want to go give us a quick intro and then kind of chime in on how you've been working with Nat to either achieve that vision or some version of it?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Pluck, Chris. I have a background in engineering, education, and I'm currently in process of getting my doctoral degree in education. I've been doing some quant research to do that. And I've been coming on to really take a look at the huge amount of data that we have that's available in the blockchain and try to answer some questions that have been lingering. One of those is to help unpack the things that Matt has been thinking about for the economy changes. And just, I think that it's been helpful for me, and I hope it's been helpful for Matt to have somebody else to bounce your ideas off of and to have that iterative process to say, like, well, this looks like it needs a little bit of tweaking. So let's take a look at the data and see what the data says, and then make this refinement and have those cycles right now. And I think we're getting close to, like Matt said, the point in which it's going to start to go into production. We should hopefully see that in May.
And then, so what is your specific role? How do you chime into this? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a data analyst, quant researcher. So there's questions that for the economy right now that we have. So like, how much have people historically been making? Where are players trending over time? Are they trending where they should be playing? And what I mean by that is, if someone has the collection power of a champion league, but they're playing in bronze instead because it's more profitable to be in bronze, then is that a break with the system? Should they be playing there? Should we be incentivizing champion more so that they can be moving up into champion? So helping work through some of those questions.
And what do you have any takeaways from this work so far? I mean, I keep coming back to it. The reward system is pretty critical. You know, how long have you been working on this? And then what if any key conclusions has hit your brain on this?
So I've probably been working on this for about 2 months now. The biggest takeaway I think so far is it's like a big chicken and the egg problem, because as we try to make tweaks to the system, either with how many chests people will be opening or the value of each chest for different leagues that there will be contained, it creates like a new set of issues. So trying to like work through all of those issues together so that make sure that it looks right for all of the different leagues has been pretty tough. I think that my biggest takeaway so far has really been just like having Matt to like run through these numbers with and other members of the team, like whether it's Doogie, whether it's like experienced players in the game to kind of to work through these issues with, because I know some things about the game and I know some things about the data, but really just coming together as a team to answer these questions has been really important.
So the it's analytical chemistry is the background. Is that correct?
So my background is in chemical engineering originally, and then I taught math and science for about a decade in like 7th to 12th grade. I started like a makerspace, and then I transitioned into a doctoral program to answer questions about like out of school STEM programs.
So the one piece of this that has actually really helped me about being a chemist is the whole concept of equilibrium. And you know, how you try to change equilibrium by changing the sort of dials and knobs, and what I've come to is that there's one of my favorite phrases of crypto is that it's the land of unexpected consequences, and that, like, you know, you start tweaking one thing and it might or might not have the impact that you think it does, and it's not really until you understand all the inputs into the equation that you can understand what levers you really need to twist to make something happen.
Yeah, I will definitely echo that like the equilibrium has been tough. And like, I think that we are recognizing as well that like even when this goes live, it's going to be version 1, and like we will have to see what the data says to see if and when we need to like increase rewards because we shot too low. But we're really hoping that like we can design it in such a way that we get as close to perfect as possible, or that we can just release more rewards if necessary.
So I think the last question I want to ask for now is what does, if you get it perfect, if you nail this, what will that look like? I mean, either you could say like, well, a league will give this and a league will give that, or even the larger picture of if the league does this and that league does that, then we'll see the population of players do this. And so hopefully you can give me sort of the micro level, the behaviors that change on a micro level, and then some of what you think will happen on a macro level.
Yeah, so I think that one of the things for me is that I was like talking to Matt about this recently. I like heard one of your interviews on some podcast where you talk about like you're playing Hearthstone and you go and you end up like getting in the champion, or you become a legendary, and now it's kind of like that, like, well, what now feeling. And, like, as a player, I don't want to have that what now feeling. Like, I'm a silver player. I'm excited to be in silver. Like, I'm earning rewards in silver, and like I'm striving to be in gold, or like I get to champion. And I feel good that I'm in champion because I've worked hard to get here, and I see like the reward for it as well. So for me, I think that's like a big piece of it. And I forgot the second half of the question. Sorry.
So if that's the micro behavior of like feeling good and trying to move up the leagues, like what do you think the macro behavior becomes? Like what trends, or what do you think we'll see if the reward system works well and it's implemented well and it works as you hope? What do you think will happen to the game, to the population, to how people feel about it? Like, what's the macro perspective?
Yeah, for the macro perspective, I would love to see like new players coming in and being able to play against like other new players, or players who are like not as far along in the game as maybe the champion player is, so that players are playing like in their appropriate levels. So there is not an incentive to be playing down in a lower league or a lower level. That we really are incentivizing that if you have the collection power and you have the ability to be playing here, there's no reason to be playing in a very small tournament, or there's no reason to be playing in this very small league, because like we're going to reward the heck out of you to be playing where you're supposed to be.
Awesome. All right. I guess this whole first part of this show is going to be Matt centric. So I'd like to go add in Chowda. Chowda, if you're there, you do some work around here and you work with Matt a bunch. Maybe you can go sort of walk us through, who you are, what you do, and how you're helping to shape this whole experience for us.
Sure, happy to. My name is Laurie, or Chowda, after my beloved Boston. Been with Splinterlands since December. So the amount of growth I've seen since then is just unbelievable. Right now, I'm the executive assistant, working with the devs, also helping Matt out, helping Doogie, helping Chicklet, kind of wherever I'm needed. I'm going in to do what I can.
And
That's what I've been doing.
What kind of projects are you working on other than just parking your car in Harvard Yard?
Or going to the bar. I mean, for Matt, I try to keep his, email in check as best I can. For Doogie, I'm, started helping out, with some reporting projects. The devs, I do a lot of meeting notes. Before we had HR, I was doing, the contracts and the onboarding, that type of stuff. Chicklet, I'm helping right now with doing some pre-interviewing for a position that she has open. So, like I said, I just jump in wherever I'm needed.
How'd you find this company? I mean, we're not based in Boston. We're not just down at the yard. You got to go find us somehow. How'd you get us?
Actually, I'm not in Boston anymore either. I'm in South Jersey. But I know the Jersey. So I found out, I saw an ad for, executive assistant, and I applied, and, I got the email to say, hey, do you want to come interview and, talk. And I was like, absolutely. And, that's
have you worked in gaming before?
Never. This is a completely new industry for me.
What about crypto?
Nope. Completely new.
So are you digging it? Like, you've been here for a while now.
It's been amazing. To me, the most important thing with working with the job is to learn every day, and I'm learning something new every day. And it's been super interesting. Great bunch of people. I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to make Matt even more efficient, what would be your number one suggestion?
Stop sending him so many emails.
Yeah, there you go, guys. Leave him alone.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm doing that. I'm trying to let him focus on, what he needs to focus on and taking that task off of him.
Well, thank you for your work. All right, so those are two folks working with Matt, and Matt is certainly helping to drive this economy and this product. And hopefully, you guys have enjoyed hearing some about the Matt experience. I want to go shift back to some of the other parts of the company here. So, Chowda, if you want to go give us kind of a quick update on marketing and marketing efforts, and then we're a little bit short on time, so I think your normal speedy kibbity pow. About do other things. I'm done. Like hit us
good.
with that, and then WeirdBeard can follow up and sort of give us some esports and tournament updates.
Perfect. Yeah, and apologies, my internet's a little bit up and down this morning. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay, but not too much new from kind of past few days. I know we had our last town hall last Wednesday, but looking to kind of help Mango Mayhem and Level Up Life with their kind of event that they're doing in the Philippines tomorrow. Huge shout out to them for continuously hosting Splinterlands events. Otherwise, lots of partnerships going on. Myself and 16-Bit are going to be flying out to Utah actually in 2 weeks from today for some more guild conversations. Otherwise, affiliate marketing is getting going. Google's finally whitelisted us for ads, so ads are going to be ramping up this week. Otherwise, lots of PR stuff. We are having the Wikipedia page getting going. And then lastly, we do have a little bit of a follow-up from some of the plushies being made. We're getting very close. I'll drop some pictures in the chat here for people interested in them.
Do you have like samples?
Yeah, Alfred, Gucci has a few samples in person right now. He took a few photos, so I'll post them here.
That's awesome. And while he's posting eye candy, I just want to say, Nate, you might want to get a little couple files or folders ready for eye candy. I know people are gonna want to see. That's cool, man. I want his that kid. That's fun. Is that the one? Do you have another one that you want to show, or is that the?
We're still waiting for BizKitty to come in right now. So we had an initial one, and then we're doing some revisions on both the Yoden and Biz, but that should hopefully be here in the next kind of week or so.
That's sweet. Okay. Any other high level updates you want to share?
That's pretty much it from our side. We're going to continue tracking here, but nothing too new from last week.
All righty. And then over your esports, how's it looking over there, WeirdBeard?
It's good. We have more tournaments going up later today for the people that were asking, so they can expect those by 4 o'clock EST to be able to go in there and see some of the new tournaments. It's been kind of a hectic week over the past week, not only from digging my hands into brawls and sort of doing the same thing that I did with tournaments, where it's like it's a lot of talking to people to just understand, because the difference between brawls and tournaments is tournaments exist kind of in their own world. Brawls have like economics tied into it too and everything like that. So it's really just asking lots of questions and trying to learn. I feel like I did when I first came in here. We had to put tournaments on pause. So doing that, we also have, we're starting to piece together. We made some jokes about it last week, but like what is our esports scene going to look like? We're really starting to connect with not only some endemic esports orgs, but some of the companies behind these esports orgs. And asking them like, okay, what do you think esports looks like in this game, right? Because like we can always come up with a cool tournament, right? But there's the whole, okay, do esports orgs do they live in a guild? Is that how we get them to form and the players have to be under the guild? Or is it just anybody can, claim association with certain esports orgs? Or how do we bring them in? How do we set them up? What kind of orgs are looking to break into Web3? So it's been a buttload of calls with just like different esports orgs and trying to understand what they're doing, because some like mainstream esports orgs, half of them are like, ooh, Web3 NFTs, we want to do that, and they don't really know what to do. But then there's the other ones that like already have a very clear kind of path that they're taking, and we're having to see how Splinterlands fits into that. So yeah, it's
so our game is a little bit funky, right? Like this is not, it's not Counter-Strike. You're not like sitting there necessarily on the edge of your seat every couple minutes being like, oh, did you get a headshot or not? Mm-hmm. So is it viable? Like, you've been here a little bit. Do you feel like Splinterlands esports are viable, or do we need different game modes to make that work? Or what's your thought process there?
Well, we definitely are going to have new tournament formats. Like we have some that we're already looking at that are kind of prioritized as of right now. But down the line, we need Swiss brackets. You know what I mean? Like it's like just the bracket to where we can advance or we can seed people and manually advance them. And you lose once, you go to the lower bracket. You have to win back up. Like that. The big thing that's kind of it's not a struggle, but it's like a challenge that we face is explaining to these esports orgs like hey, here's how players interact and compete in this game right now. Here's where we're going. What do we need to put along the road to get you there as well? Is it viable? Absolutely. But I think that it's kind of what we've talked about, right? There's two paths. There's like the semi-pro or the people who are playing maybe without ginormous card collections. And then the other path is like the Poker Pro series where it's, hey, it's the biggest players with the biggest collections going for the biggest money. Like you have to have kind of both of those sides because some esports orgs really like the idea of, hey, we don't have to have players that have $700,000 in cards in their collection to be able to compete. But then there's others that are like, ooh, we want the big stage with the big lights and the big money on the line. So it's like trying to balance, who wants what and how do we get there?
Juno Kyo is saying community gaming has Swiss brackets now, and so does Jolange, right?
Yeah.
So we can still definitely hack these things together. They don't live in the platform, but just so you know, I'm supportive of that and think they're cool.
Yeah, we love community gaming. We're waiting on a confirmation from them for another tournament that I wish I could have talked about this week, but we can't. But I mean, Swiss bracket, like again, the overall idea is like I love community gaming. Splinterlands has to own those tournaments. You know what I mean? Like long term, it's great to work with them as a partner, but we can't farm our own professional esports operations out to a third party platform, right? Like we have to be able to work within our stuff. And bring them on as partners to be able to help run it or whatever we need to. But like that ecosystem is so precious because when you give away those keys, they own competitive esports, and we don't want to just be able to do that.
Alrighty. Thanks for the update. Nate, heading over to you. You got some eye candy? Do you want to share some of what your top priorities are and what you're working on?
Yeah, I'll try to ride the coattails of all the folks that have been chatting things up before me. Although I will say that with WeirdBeard's ending, I envision being on the creative side. This is not anything that would happen anytime soon, but I can imagine a day will come where tournaments are so much more than your typical esport where you're basically watching people play a game.
Yeah,
I would love for this to be a fully immersive storytelling experience. I mean, you can imagine the arenas within the Splinterlands, that is the sport of this land, of this world, of this fantasy world. And if you can imagine someday, something that I personally invested in trying to make happen is that the avatars that players have represent the battle mage persona themselves, and that they get to choose what race they want and how long their nose is and what color their hair, and customize that to such a degree that if you go into a tournament, I can only imagine a little cutscene where this customized avatar approaches and steps into the arena, the crowd cheers, and then you swivel and pan in and pan out and zoom into the opponent stepping on his other side. And I can imagine a tournament experience where it's like no other game, where it's like, okay, now it really feels like I'm watching an episode of something and it's a tournament, and I can only imagine the things that we'll be able to accomplish down the road. So I'm pretty excited to see, not number one, WeirdBeard's enthusiasm to really lift the what can be done in terms of technical aspects, but also the immersive. I know recently we've been collaborating on how to make the Splinterlands hosted tournaments more narrative driven and have the descriptions, and we're working on graphics to provide him so he can kind of like add that extra bit of polish. But I say we just keep running and seeing how far we can push the envelope with that. But yeah, as far as eye candy, let's see, what did we talk about today that we can kind of hop on? We talked about rank rewards, so I can speak a little bit to that. I know that keep in mind something that Matt has been driving home constantly is let's get this stuff out. So some of this stuff I shared just like last time, it's like, hey, keep in mind, not all of this stuff that whenever you make an update to the game, it's like, hey, Nate, let's get creative working on this stuff. And I have all these dreams of envisioning what it could be like, the polished UX, super ultra promised land experience. But it's not realistic to expect that right away. But creative takes a while to create all these assets and all these animations in order to provide that kind of experience. So in the meantime, you know, we release phase 1, phase 2, get the functionality out there, get the features so people can start earning more and being excited about the tokenomics and all the different GameFi levels that Splinterlands has to offer. And then when the assets are ready, bam, suddenly, you know, you're going to wake up one of these days and put the game on and log in and be like, whoa, this is amazing. It looks more like a game and it looks more game-like and more engaging. So some of the stuff I share may not be ready quite yet, but someday. So like this is an example. I think last time or was it time before I shared the new modern shields badges that represent the different leagues. So what I'll share with you now is concept art. This is just concept art. It's not even a finalized, polished art. But Alex, one of our environmental concept artists, has just, bam, is knocking it out of the park because this is just concept art. It's not even the final one. This is just, I'll start you off nice and easy with novice. So if you're a novice league, then we want to give you the immersive feeling like you're stepping into either your own lair or you're maybe in a waiting room waiting for your turn to go into the arena. So this is what a novice background would look like. And you'll notice that the novice heraldry, the little shield, is hanging there, right there from the wall. Same badge that I shared with you guys last time. And then as you kind of go to the next league level, that changes and kind of gets a little bit better. So here's bronze, and you can kind of see the differences between the two. And you see the little bronze badges or shields up there hanging on the wall. And we'll make some cool animation effects. So when you go from one league to the next, I expect the glow and maybe the shield breaks apart and comes back together and does all this cool stuff. In the meantime, we're trying to conceptualize how to do that kind of animation work with the chest. So this is just a bronze chest, but this is kind of a little animation to indicate, hey, there's a bronze chest, active or unlocked or whatever. So it might look something like this. And then when it's, let's take the same chest, just a bronze chest, nothing too fancy. I'm thinking future town halls, I'll kind of escalate the type of chest you guys see so it looks cooler and cooler. So we'll just start off with bronze. And then if you open up a bronze chest, it probably looks something like that. So, and what's challenging is that this is a web browser-based game. So, we want to make sure that accessibility is there. It's not like people are downloading a client, and all these resources and animations, and it's stored on their hard drive. And it's like, we got to make sure that the load time is there, that you're not just tapping your fingers for 5 minutes, waiting for these animations to kind of be loaded and displayed. And by the time it's done, if you're on the phone, mobile, you used up all your minutes for the month just trying to see the animation for stuff. So from a technical standpoint, we've made a lot of progress and a lot of, we've done well in trying to optimize and get the file size as low as possible so that you guys can have your cake and eat it too. Have cool animations, but minimal load time since it is a web browser-based game. So I think that's what I'll share as far as ranked rewards go. We're still working on art for the characters that'll be released with ranked rewards and eventually Rift Watchers. We're still not sure which characters Matt's going to select. That's when the attributes get assigned, the stats and abilities. But I will say that this character will probably be in the mix somewhere. I don't know whether it'll be ranked rewards or Rift Watchers, but it's something to look at. A new character, you can kind of theorize what's going on there. Though clearly it's fire, right? So other than that, I think it's.
Oops, we lost Nate. All right.
It was too good for him.
Yeah. Couldn't handle it. Okay, Doogie, we got just a couple minutes left, and then I want to get into questions. So do you want to go kind of give us an update on what you're working on and what your highest priorities are right now?
Oh man. Highest priorities lately have definitely been making sure that we can get the ranked rewards going out pretty quickly, cleanly, and efficiently. Also doing a little bit of investigative research into some of the performance challenges we've been having and trying to make sure that we can kind of tee everything up, because especially as we start talking ranked rewards, modern versus wild, validators, land, all the other changes we have coming up, one of the things that we don't want to run into is performance issues with all of the players that we want to have.
Do we have a line on where some of that has creeped back in, or what's causing that?
Still working on that. Some of it is looking like there are repeated attempts to like access the website, and it's causing a little bit of a feedback loop. There's some more engineering specific kind of language associated with that, but we've got a pretty good beat on it, and we're coming up with some different solutions.
Sweet. I should have started. Do you want to give like a quick intro? Not everybody knows who you are, Doogie.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, what's going on? I'm Doogie. Name's Andrew, but I am the VP of Project Management here at Splinterlands, and I get to have a lot of fun jumping between all the different teams, getting to talk with everyone, and trying to make sure that we're orchestrating all the different parts and pieces of what you guys get to experience as players, and trying to do so successfully so that every time you come and play, it's a good experience.
Awesome. I know that Matt's time is limited, so I want to go dive into these questions. So hopefully Reality will pop those in here in just a second so everybody can follow along with what we're doing. But so there's 3 pages of questions, so I'm going to try to go fly through these, although we'll see how well I can do that. We're not quite yet on general questions, so don't just hit us up with random stuff. We'll get you the questions, or there'll be a period where everybody can ask them, but it's not just yet. These are the ones that have been submitted over the course of last week. So not surprisingly, we start with SPS validator nodes. So since there seems to be quite a bit of demand for validator nodes, are there plans to have a random selector like we did for when land was hot? This isn't a true lottery since no one loses or risks their capital if they don't get a spot. Instead, the process is simply a selection mechanism to fairly give every entry an equal chance to be selected. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, so there's gonna be some limitations sort of similar to the Waka sale, which actually worked quite well in the fact that, I think 3 was the maximum Wakas that any individual account was able to receive. I'm not going to go into the details about that. It's not going to be exactly the same as the Waka sale, just so people can't try to exploit it ahead of time. But I also think that our goal is for this. We'd love it for it to sell out relatively quickly, but not nearly as quickly as the Waka thing. Like, for one thing, it'll be 4 times the number of vouchers in total that will be required to sell out for the pre-sale phase, which will naturally kind of limit things. So it's not like someone could just come in with $1 million and buy them all up, because it's just not that many vouchers are available on the markets. And that's the main reason why that first phase requires vouchers where the other phases don't, is so that the people who are already in the game, who are staking SPS, getting vouchers for free, have that advantage over like other new capital coming into the game. So we are gonna do what we can to sort of make it limited, and not just someone can come in and like type in 500 nodes and buy them in one fell swoop.
Will the additional 20,000 pool for voucher distribution start at the same time validator nodes go live, or will it start once their validator nodes have been purchased in the pre-sale?
It'll start when the nodes go live, because you'll have to be running the actual node in order to earn those distributions.
And are we starting with the 20,000 per day right away, or does it scale up to that?
No, it should start right away, because the licenses will be pre-sold. So like on day 1, we should have a decent amount of licenses running the node software.
It was mentioned that the validator nodes will keep getting incentivized after 5 years through 20% pool of SPS. Won't this run out very soon as well, in less than a year by my simple calculations? How will the node license holder be incentivized after that supply of SPS is capped?
Yeah, so that's something we've just started to be thinking about, like what do we do after the 5-year period? How do we keep some of these things going? So this is just like one of many ways that we can do that. So lots of other mechanisms in the game, like sales of potentially Rift Watchers packs, it could be that a portion of those can go into this pool and other things we do. So hopefully we'll have a lot of sources of new tokens coming into the pool to keep things going, long into the future.
And just a little bit on that, the 20% was meant for liquidity pools, and liquidity pools have fees that'll be generated over time and added. So it's not like we're proposing, okay, 20% of the SPS you give us goes in. It's no. 20% goes to sort of like an endowment, almost an endowment where you get fees over time, and the fees can be contributed to this pool after the 5 years of SPS has been pulled out of the system. There's still something there that hopefully can grow. If you don't run a node but have licenses, will we be able to delegate those licenses in game to someone running a node so we can be included in the 90% pool?
Yeah, I don't know the exact details of how that'll work, but we expect there'll be some like node pools and things, and we'll work on mechanisms. We'll work with users to figure out the right mechanism for that. But and there's a question later down, so I'll just answer those both together about, well, why isn't it one license per node, and why can you run multiple licenses on the same node and things for that? Doesn't that reduce the distribution of the system? And it's like, I look at it as a balance, right? I think one license per node is a little too cumbersome. Some people might want to buy a whole bunch of licenses, and then they shouldn't necessarily have to run 10 different instances of the software, on the same server in the same data center. That doesn't actually help, so that we really want it to be like distributed, all around the world. So with a total of 60,000 licenses, maybe we end up with 5 or 10,000 actual instances of the software running, as people kind of group licenses together, which I think is really a lot. I mean, that's a huge amount, and it really distributes the system. So it kind of gives us a happy medium. So people the licenses can be on the relatively cheap side. There can be more of them, but and then if people want to buy a whole bunch because they want to invest more into these licenses, they can also do that and just run one node. So it's like kind of a happy middle ground.
Will node operators or owners get titles, and how many airdrop points, if they do get titles, would they be worth?
I mean, I don't think we currently have titles planned for node operators, but that's something we could potentially add. I don't know that they'll have airdrop points, because I guess it's unlikely this will be like all live and running before the airdrop's done anyway.
The pre-sale provides the initial sale of 2,000 node licenses. I believe it will be very competitive and many people will not be able to buy. Do you think about limiting the number of nodes purchased per accounts in this pre-sale to prevent the same person from buying numerous nodes? I know that's kind of in line, but I guess this one is really like, if you have 10,000 SPS, are you going to be able to buy what is that, 20? Is it 20 nodes?
Well, I mean, either way, I mean, yes, you'll be able to buy. There's not going to be a limit, and like each account could own as many licenses as they want, but we are going to have some things in place to prevent someone from coming in and just like buying them all up.
Okay. Let's see. Will I be able to use my web hosting service to set up a node?
I guess it depends on the service, but generally any service where you could run a Docker container should be fine.
Can you update or elucidate possible SPS use cases with validator nodes? Like, how does the tech enable new ways to earn as a player in layman's terms?
Well, generally the validator nodes aren't use cases for SPS. They're actually the software that's going to be running SPS for all of the other use cases, which will be primarily in the game. So, I mean, the only use case really for validator nodes is directly is buying these licenses. But then the validator nodes is going to be the actual software that runs all the other use cases, from governance to buying packs to staking and all that stuff. So really, it's the game and the game economy that's going to provide the use cases, and the validator nodes are the software that actually runs all that.
All right, that's the end of that section. Now we're on to liquidity pools. Which liquidity pools will be eligible for the liquidity pool rewards detailed in the SPS white paper? Do you expect those rewards to come online shortly after the airdrop ends, or will there be a delay?
So I don't know about timing, and I mean we haven't really gotten into the details of LP rewards. It's just, with everything, if we had designed the LP rewards initially when it first launched, it would probably look very different than we would design it at this point, and it would probably look different than it would be, at the end of the airdrop. So it'll definitely be like after the airdrop ends, there's going to be a lot of things changing in the ecosystem, and at that point, we'll look at it and decide what makes the most sense for LP rewards and the other pools that haven't come online yet.
Splinterlands development history. How much time did it take to develop the first build of Splinterlands that was made public? I know the game started 4 years back, but how much time went in before that?
Well, yeah, let's see. We launched the initial website where you could buy packs on around Memorial Day weekend, end of May on 2018. It was only a few months to get it to that point, but there wasn't a whole lot. It was just a basic website and buying packs. And then I think the actual battling launched in October of that year. So 5 months roughly before we had, the initial version of the battle system in the game.
And that was still the spammy one, right? Do you want to
Yeah.
do you remember that at all? Do you want to talk about the first version of the fighting?
Yeah, I guess initially it wasn't you didn't get a different rule set and mana cap per battle. It was just, I think it was every day or maybe every other day that the rule set and mana cap changed. So you kind of made your team and you would just submit that like over and over and over because it's the same rule set and mana cap, for all the matches that day. You can even like save the teams back then. And so, yeah, like it was very spammy from that regard. You would just, it was how fast you could kind of submit your same team for all the different battles. I think the direction we went was definitely an improvement.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny to go look at like the number of battles because initially they were super high. Then we went strategic and you had to like choose your teams much more carefully. And then like the number of battles dropped off. And then over time it retook it. But it was kind of this weird stutter step that happened initially. All right, shop interface. Is it possible to add current circulating supply info to the voucher section on the shop page, similar to the SBS tab showing it on top?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think, the voucher information is going to move to the SPS page where the airdrop information is once the airdrop ends. We'd like to show a whole lot more about the vouchers, total supply, info about how much you're earning. We also want to update the APR numbers for staking SPS to include voucher earnings, all that stuff. We'll try to get some of that in on the current shop interface, but there's definitely plans for like a big overhaul on that when the airdrop's done.
Rewards. If you plan to change the reward system, do you want to completely change it or just add a new layer on top of it? Don't you think changing it entirely is risky?
Well, so we've sort of been adding things or changing little pieces on top of it for a long time. And like I talked about earlier, if you don't actually fix the core underlying issue, then you're still going to have all sorts of problems. So I think the riskiest thing would be to continue to not fix the core underlying issue. But I've also been very careful to do like, we're going to do really an MVP, like the bare minimum to fix that issue. And a lot of people on the team have lots of great ideas like, oh, what if we also do this? Or wouldn't it be better if we do this? They're all good ideas, but I want to start by really fixing the core problem, making the minimal amount of changes. I mean, there will be a lot of changes, but the minimum that we need to do to get that to work, putting it out and really seeing how it goes before then deciding, what we want to, other things we want to add or improve on it. So it's like changing it as little as possible, but to fix the core problem. I also want to make it clear, like a lot of people freak out when we announce these things, like they think there's going to be some issue and that means the economy is going to break and the whole game's going to fail. Like this doesn't mean that's going to be how it is forever and that's it. It is not set in stone. We're going to release this. We're going to do our best to anticipate all the things that could come up. And then, part of what Plucktor, is tasked with working on is not just helping me design this initially, but like getting things in place to automatically monitor the results and use a much more data-driven approach to figuring out what did we get right, what did we get wrong, what do we need to change. So it's, in my opinion, the risky thing would be to not fix the underlying issue. So that's, that's what we're going to do, is fix that and then go from there.
All right, bots, the dreaded bot conversation. Will you allow bots with no or minimal asset farming rewards cards on daily and end of season chests? If not, any plan against it?
Well, the whole new reward system is focused on that. So bots or any accounts will have to buy or rent cards in order to earn rewards. And we are going to heavily focus on rewards at higher leagues. So it's, if bots, are like, hey, I have all these cards, split all these accounts, we want to make it the most profitable for them to take all those cards and combine them into one account, rather than have them spread out. So again, we'll see how it goes. It's not going to be the end all be all, the first release, but that is like one of the main issues we're targeting here.
How do we prevent bots and people playing down to 30% ECR, then sending cards to another account to have a full ECR again in 24 hours versus waiting 3 days for the full ECR to recover?
Yeah. So again, this is, it's hard to explain everything with the new system, but it will be like with the new system, it won't be linear, the amount of additional chests you earn as you continue to play down in ECR. So you'll actually be hurting yourself by, using excess amount of ECR in one day and then waiting a few days for it to recover. Even if you move cards between accounts and wait for the 24-hour period, you'll actually be, the optimal way to earn rewards is to play every day on an account, the amount, roughly 30 battles or so, that uses your ECR for that day. So again, that's our plan. That's what we're targeting. We're going to see how it works in practice and adjust as necessary.
I heard that the team will add spell card gameplay to the game to prevent bots from getting too rampant. Is this true?
If you're talking about the items and spells that are going to be the result of the land expansion, it's not focused on preventing bots from being too rampant, but it will add another layer of skill to the game and, evaluating the battlefield, which I think will make bots have more of a disadvantage to human players.
With the bots, how did the Splinterlands team plan to increase the number of new players? I don't think it's really dependent on bots.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the bots, but one of the ways I'm very excited about and we're focusing on is through gaming guilds. I think that's a fantastic way to increase the player base of the game. So we have a number of gaming guilds. There's Balthazar, there's YGG, there's Nifty Arcade, and so with these reward changes, we're hoping that the scholars for these gaming guilds will be earning a lot more, which means the gaming guilds will be earning a lot more, which means they'll be incentivized to put in more investment into the game and get more scholars. So, if the gaming guild model really works, that'll be a fantastic way to bring new people in, because people can come in and they don't even have to spend any money. The gaming guilds can provide the spell books. They can provide the cards, they can provide everything. So you kind of take away that entire, hurdle to getting into the game, and, you can onboard thousands and thousands of people really quickly, who are really like invested in it.
Yeah, totally agree with that. All right, please address, besides hiding an opponent's name, which is expected to solve trade win issues or avoid bots to analyze the opponents, how about the advantage that the bots have with the accumulated battle database and learning algorithm? That even without opponent's name info, bots can pick the best combination of all the time as long as they know the rule set. Although humans also can do it this way, nearly no player can have as big of a database as bots have and be effective as the bots to utilize a full database all the time at the same efficiency level.
Yeah. So a couple of things there. So one of the things that I have wanted to do for a while, and I'm hoping we'll get back into, is adding things like new rule sets on a much more regular basis, like a couple a month. Rule sets are relatively easy to add, and I think that's one of the things we're going to start giving to like new developers as they come on as like a first little project, is adding a new rule set or two into the game. So that helps, obviously when there's something new, bots won't have any databases to look off of, and players should have an advantage. Same thing with new cards, but to a lesser degree when we add those. And on the flip side, though, also, even with accumulated databases and learning algorithms, that's also something that can be predictable for human players too. If bots are all seeing that like a certain deck is the best in a certain rule set or whatever, players can also be one step ahead and try to anticipate that. And it's sort of a shifting meta. And as a longer term time frame, we plan to add the item and spell cards with the land expansion. So that'll be another, it's not just picking your team, it's then this other step of evaluating the battlefield and choosing items and spells, which will make it even more difficult for bots to compete with human players.
Lord and Quick in chat has just asked, how do you think on CAPTCHA? I still see CAPTCHA questions all the time. Why don't we just put CAPTCHA in? Do you want to talk a little? To me, one of these things that keeps recurring in conversations is something like, we want a really decentralized game. Also, we really want you to ban bots. Do you want to kind of talk about some of the flawed logic that might be in that, and how CAPTCHA does or doesn't fix whatever we're trying to solve?
Yeah, so first of all, we can and may implement CAPTCHAs for like certain things that we as a company do, potentially like future promo card sales, like the Waka thing or whatever. That's where we as a company are controlling that, or selling, our own product and things like that. But generally, the whole concept of a decentralized and distributed game is there is no company, there is no entity that controls things or says who can participate and who can't, right? That's kind of really the underlying problem that we're trying to solve here in the space, is that games are controlled by companies who are ultimately controlled by governments. And then there's all kinds of problems come out of that control, of banning people, blocking people, preventing, inequality of access and all these different things. And if you want that, there are thousands and thousands of really amazing games that do that, where they can, kick out bots. They can do whatever it is you want them to do as a centralized company, they can do. We're trying to do something different here. And ultimately with like validator nodes, once we get to a point where validator nodes are running everything in the game, right, then the code will be run in a distributed fashion, on servers all around the world by random people all around the world. So then, you can't have any centralized person who's like, or company that's validating CAPTCHA and things like that. So we're trying to do something kind of different and new. It's difficult and also a little scary, but I think ultimately the rewards for doing it and getting it right will be much higher than anything else we can do. So, you guys are here early. It's still very early, even though we're coming up to our 4-year anniversary. You guys are going to, go through all the difficulties that we go through trying to figure all this stuff out. But we're getting really close to the point where, we've gone through a lot of these things already. We kind of know what to expect. We know ways to handle it. And we're implementing that. And I think my hope is that we're going to be one of the first, if not the first games to get all this right. We're going to be the first game to do all this in a really decentralized, distributed way. But also have it not, cause problems, have an economy that's built to handle that. And I think that's where the huge win in this industry is. So that's like all of our focus is on, not how can we make more centralized control of things, it's how we can do the opposite of that, but also address the issues that typically come with it.
Yeah, spot on. Okay, suggestions and requests, and we're running into the last 7 minutes of Matt, so hopefully we can continue to plow through these. What do you guys think about rewarding stakeholders for staking SPS more than 6 months or 1 year with some sort of promo card or other rewards, trying to keep as much SPS as possible staked? Thank you for your hard work. You're the best.
I guess, we're open to kind of anything, and no idea is really, off the table generally. But ultimately, obviously you earn SPS rewards for staking, but then vouchers are kind of the main thing. So, we've kind of said that pretty much everything we do, every promotion, every new sale, every whatever is going to require vouchers. We hope that will help increase the value of vouchers significantly. And, staking SPS is the way you get vouchers for free. Aside from that, you'd have to buy them from people who did stake SPS. We may be able to do things where if you have SPS stake for a certain period, maybe you get bonuses or multipliers or things like that. Some other projects do that type of thing. But right now our focus is on really just adding more value to the token and to the vouchers.
Will there be delegation of licenses so existing nodes can get rewards for less technical minds?
Wait, sorry, where were we? Did you skip one?
Well, I might have. When you solve the problem of rentals, I skipped one.
So
will there be delegation of licenses for nodes?
I don't know exactly how it'll work, but we do want to encourage people to be able to someone who's running a node to be able to also utilize licenses from other people in some way. So whether that's delegation or something else, we're going to figure that out.
When you solve the problem of rentals near end of season, my suggestion would be to make renting to be multiples of 7 days instead of multiples of 1 day. That is, you rent cards in weeks, not in days as it is now.
Yeah, that's something I've been looking at and thinking about. There's on the flip side, projects like Peak Monsters really want faster rentals so they can optimize it for players, kind of on the fly. So if there's a better rate that comes up on the market, Peak Monsters can automate that and switch out to the same card at a lower price for users with a shorter time period. But I guess ultimately the game economy and removing exploits is the most important thing. So I'd say first and foremost, we're going to get this new reward system out. We're going to get things like Modern and Wild out. That's going to change a lot in the game. We're going to see how it goes and then see if the problem still exists, if it just makes sense to increase the minimum rental period.
Do you plan to release any tokenomics dashboards like a Splinterlands official listing all Hive holding accounts with updates and descriptions for each one? Maybe a personal tokenomics dashboard too, where you can see how much you've earned by playing staking, and in the future validating staking on a player, etc. Currently, it's quite a task to get all this info unless you're looking for an external third-party website to do all this instead.
Yeah, man, I think that would be cool, but as far as our priorities and roadmap are concerned, that's not up there. So one of the things like you mentioned, external third parties can do that, and we would be more than happy to help out if anyone wants to put that together. It's just a way to sort of distribute the workload off of us, which we always support.
Last Town Hall, Ag said you won't delay Rift Watchers and Rebellion in favor of working on land because they are two different departments. Delaying one won't speed up the other. Okay, so can we delay them anyway because they are the last thing the game needs, more cards, or you can't because of financial reasons would mean you have to have too many artists doing nothing.
I think I would say Rift Watchers we're definitely not going to delay. That's going to be the set that's you need SPS to get. And only SPS, and that's going to be a really important thing as far as our kind of future plan for the SPS token. I think Rebellion, one, we're going to have to wait and see how long it takes for Chaos Legion to sell out. So there's not exact timing for that. And I think we're gonna take everything into account. There's definitely we're never going to do anything for non-game economy reasons. We're not going to be we don't think it's good for the game economy to release this right now and the overall value of assets, but we're going to do it anyway because we have artists sitting around. That would never ever happen. Like I said earlier, our goal is always increasing the amount of value coming into the ecosystem and the value of assets. So we'll see. I think there's a benefit to having kind of everything be sold out for a little while, but there's also benefits to having packs be available for people to buy. So when Chaos Legion sells out, we'll kind of review the whole situation at that point and see what makes sense. And
ideally, Rebellion is sitting on a shelf somewhere. You guys, I think there's always a disconnect between there's a product timeline and process. You go through prototyping and then you get this thing into production. And after it's in production, you kind of get it sitting on a shelf until it's ready to actually go live on the website and out into the world. There's testing. This stuff takes so much more time than you might expect for any one given part. And ideally what happens is that, we have, especially things we know are 100% going to come into existence. Like there's no world where we don't sell Rebellion. That's going to happen. The goal is to have it done, sitting on a shelf and ready to be implemented whenever it makes sense for the business and the community. So, no, like we would work on it, and it would be silly not to work on these things. And then the question is, when would we implement things? And I want you to parse your thinking, whoever wrote that question. All right. In the spirit of moving to a decentralized format in the future, can't the new card art eventually be supplied by gamers and fans submitted for voting?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hope to see a lot of stuff that starts coming from the community as we move forward.
Nate, are you freaking out about that? Like, how are we going to get consistency and standards if everybody and their mother can just make art and ship it to the game?
No, I agree. I mean, that's like, yeah, part of me would freak out at that, because it's kind of like, hey, let's make a movie, but distribute it to like 100 different people so that every 15 minutes you have different actors and the scenes are different and everyone's working from a different budget. Or let's do a comic book where each page is a different artist or a different writer. I mean, it's like creatively, you can only go so far with decentralization and output a polished, beautiful, engaging, cohesive thing. On the other hand, I could easily see how Splinterlands as an ecosystem grows to encompass and allow for things like that. It's just that, I wouldn't close the door on that. I would just say that as the Splinterlands ecosystem evolves and grows and gets bigger, and rank play becomes one of many different aspects of that, then yes, then the doors open up for all kinds of new ideas and stuff like that. That would accommodate something like that.
I guess I should clarify. I was thinking more something along the lines of how we do like the legendary summoners and things, where like, sort of work with our creative team. So like if the community wants to vote for like a certain type of character or thing, and like certain type of art style, maybe certain stats or whatever it is, like they can do that. And then, sort of we work with them to make something that, is up to the standards and quality and, cohesiveness of the rest of the game.
Like Lamators? Like how we have a lack of Lamators in the game?
Possibly.
Okay. All right, this one, I think I know who wrote this, but can Splinterlands publicly disclose the names of all accounts of employees? This is so the community knows, and there is transparency in decisions and news that affects pricing, and so there is less suspicion and employees having to defend themselves. The second is by making it public. Should an employee hide asset allocation via account not disclosed, it would be a strong indicator of their means something mens rea, guilty mind in hiding the action.
Maybe. I mean, we'll have to think about that. But ultimately, the way we kind of operate is we try to tell the community about things very, very early on, and we try to have very little like. Again, we're not trying to have any like proprietary or secret information here. So especially, we may not give like an official post, but definitely on the town halls and things, like we just discuss with all of you everything that we're kind of working on all the time. So there's, you guys have all the information that we have internally for the most part, which kind of takes out the opportunity for employees to like try to, insider trade anything. And obviously, like as an organization, if anything like that really happened, we would, frown upon it very, very heavily. But I don't think we necessarily want to force anyone who works for us to like publicly disclose, kind of like all the things they're doing and all their accounts. So it is an issue. It is something. Well, it's not an issue in that it's happening, but it's something we want to ensure doesn't happen or can't happen. But I don't want to say like officially, we're going to do this or that right now.
And anything that anybody has information on, I can't tell you the number of times that like Matt and I have changed things prior to it going live. So like if you try to act on things that aren't like, published, and you're confident that that's what it's going to look like, you might find that you get slammed, because until it's like written on the official blog, Matt and I reserve the right to change anything at any time. So just some of the things to consider to try to make that, less like, people have access to information. Nobody has access to like the true source until it's public on, the Hive blockchain.
Everything we do, like I said before, is based around bringing more value into the ecosystem and making a better product, which, ideally will help asset prices increase. So, there's your alpha.
I'll say this too from my perspective. Like, I live in the US and it's hard for me to take fiat and get it into crypto. So then I have to plan like weeks out in advance to say, hey, I want to go be able to buy XYZ. And I've even had a few times where I've reached out to leadership and been like, hey, I'm buying this. And everyone's always been understanding. But yeah, it's definitely something that we care about from a culture perspective.
All right, cool. I gotta jump because we have another meeting right now. But yeah, thanks everybody. I actually do really enjoy being here and like sharing all of this with you, even if it's only once a month. Because like I said, or like Agrod said, I've gone from sort of like a place of more despair, last summer and fall, to a place of like I can clearly see the light at the end of the tunnel. To realize the full vision that we've been trying to for almost 4 years now. And it's super, super exciting. And we're just trying to figure out how to get this all done and out and scaling and, working well as quickly as we can.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. All right. Reality. Want to do the thing. Let's go talk to the people. If you guys have questions, please put them in. If you look at how Dishonesty just asked questions, they put question in bold or question in all caps at the front. That helps me as I'm going through this separate from, honest questions to just kind of mindless chatter in here. So please help me by writing question at the front if you want it kind of read aloud. All right. 2 months ago, you guys surprised everyone with the Warner Music Group partnership. You brought a nice lady and talked about new projects, a Discord channel designed for this, etc. Any update on that? Yeah, we're making progress with Warner. I guess I need to figure out. I don't know what I can say publicly, but we are working on projects, and I don't know. We're moving forward with under the assumption that not just one but multiple things are going to get built between us. Question: in light of the info about ghost cards not providing rank rewards, what mechanism do you plan to create in order to help new players with acquiring cards? Maybe give back $5 of the spellbook as credits, or make the spellbook $15 and give back the extra 5 as credits. No, I mean, this is part of this that, not everything is about giving stuff for free. And, we have some minimum thresholds. They're common for everybody. They're relatively low. Most people around the world can figure out $10. If you have internet and you have a cell phone and you have connection and you have a computer to play on, we don't think it's unreasonable. So no, you're going to buy your $10 starter pack, and if you want more cards, you'll buy the cards, or you'll rent and you'll pay pennies, or you guys will figure it out. I understand you are all busy, but it would be possible to get back to a standard schedule for the town halls. I had to move the town halls to a Monday, so the new schedule is going to be kind of this rotating calendar of events on Mondays. Question: roughly when will the Node software be available to run? I think Matt said Q4, so we're looking for that. Value Bets is asking: Will the rank rewards update include SPS rewards next to DEC rewards per battle 1? Probably not yet, because we're not doing SPS rewards for battles yet. That's another project that we have to work on. I don't know, Matt. I'm sorry, Nate. Have you seen anything about SPS rewards in battles?
That's not ready yet. But what you will see, in addition to the DEC rewards, is how many. Matt mentioned the term reward shares, and during the UX UI process, we kind of determined, well, reward shares. Will people get that? Will they understand it? And as we kind of went through the iteration of how that's going to display. Roy, our UX UI guy, created some great UI specs that have already been handed off to the devs, and part of that is displaying focus points and season points. So when you win a game, you'll see how much DEC you got, how many focus points you got, if it applies, if you were working on a focus and you won the battle, and then of course season points, and all of these things will play a part in determining how close you are to these chests that you're trying to win.
Will there be a way to enter multiple sit and go tournaments at the same time on one account for people that want to play Splinterlands competitive with all cards playable? It's a poker sit and go idea where in the past I've played 18 tournaments at the same time.
Kind of like it. We currently still have an issue with like being able to run X amount of tournaments at a time, right? Like we can't run unlimited tournaments just because it's like a bandwidth issue, right? We do that and everything grinds to a halt. So we have some like logistic problems that we're figuring out on tournaments, especially because as we see new players coming into the game, we're going to have to expand how many tournaments we are doing. Is that a possibility? Totally. Do we know when that'll happen right now? Definitely not. No clue whatsoever.
Question: what would the Splinterlands medium to long-term perspective be for leaderboards if the game effectively becomes solvable? I know that there's still RNG and still a rock, paper, scissors format, but you can have automated bots which are so superior to human players, the human players don't have a chance to place over a season-long time frame. In chess, a bot is easily 600 points higher than the best human players. Yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be a point where this game becomes effectively solvable because, there's not, it's a meta, right? So what happens is you guys pick the best team and the one that has, your bot says, okay, this is a team that wins the most. And then you come in and you say, oh, I know what team beats that. And then you start playing that team and then you beat the bots because you have a different strategy designed to hurt that team. There's not one team that wins every single match in any given like setting in any league. It's always this like rocks, paper, scissors thing. So if there comes a time where there's one team that dominates, it's either broken and we have to add counters or nerf, or you just start playing the team that beats it. And that's how life moves on. Will nodes help scale the game when it 10x again? Yeah, it should. It should make us all more comfortable that the tokens are held in this decentralized way. Not all of that is from the node portion, because the node portion is really about keeping track of balances of tokens. So it's possible if we 10x because the tokens go nuts, that like the battles have issues. There's like 30 servers in here. So all different manners of things can go wrong as we scale, and then we'll just have to go one by one and fix them again while the devs pull their hair out. Will items and spells be included as starter items when first released? Yeah, I can't tell you 100%, but it is my thought and my plan that we have some like baseline item and spells. It's not our plan to like sell them. Maybe there's some promo cards or something if we get like an athlete or an entertainer or something. But I'd say 99.5% of all the cards are going to come from the players minting them. And then, we'll do these starter ones, but I think they'll be like ghost cards again too, where, maybe it'll hurt your economics if you use them, or, there's lots of disincentives, but, we also want to make sure that people can play. So that's the balance that we have there. Snackaholic is asking, will you provide nodes as well to help stabilize the network? What if there are not enough validators? How would that influence the game? Yeah, if there's no validators, that's bad. And yes, we could spin them up. I don't think that we as a company have any plans to do that. Yeah, I mean, if node stability is an issue, we'll probably run them, but we wouldn't be running them for rewards. We'd just be running them for like, infrastructure and making sure that we're like testing and using them. I don't know. I'm not really worried about, will there be enough validators? It's something like 375,000 tokens, which even right now is $37,000, which even like around 20 people, it's still enough money because your nodes are going to be like initially when you start running nodes, my guess is that they're like $5 to $20. And if you're like a top 20 witness, you will easily make, 100x that. So you'll have every incentive in the world to run these things, and people just think this stuff is cool. So there you go. Question: is it true that you chose Gank as your baby's middle name? No, I chose the name Gank McGankerson, and so we'll see if Katie lets me do it. But but that's my current top choice. Could you give us an ETA for Brawl SPS rewards and ranked SPS rewards? Probably sometime after Validators, because anything that's rewards is going to be mat heavy. And so we got to, I guess, WeirdBeard will do some of the design for Brawls, which may include the SPS rewards. I don't know. But when you get into rewards, it needs Matt's attention, and we got to be done with the key parts of Validators first.
And that's the big thing with Brawls is tournaments, it's all numbers, right? Like I can just make CP requirements go up, SPS staked go down. Like you can those are levers you can pull on. As soon as we get into the economics of stuff, it makes it so much harder to pull teeth and go, oh, a change in one thing can have ripple effects across everything. So it's no longer just hey, let's fix this on Tuesday and do new stuff on Wednesday. It's a month-long thing.
Sweet. All right. Has the dev team that work on the app made any progress? Can we see some eye candy? Any ETA on the improvement of the app? We should go. That's David, right? We should bring in David and have him talk to that.
Next week.
We'll try to get him on next week. All right. Didn't someone say a few town halls ago that a new promo card was coming soon and more details would be out? Has anything been said about that? Yeah, the next sort of Waka is an athlete, and I got to go get a updated contract. It's been in legal review for a couple of weeks, but we basically agree on terms, and now it's just the sort of details. From there on, it should get easier because this will be sort of our standard term sheet that we operate off of. Question 1, is there technical documentation for the validator nodes that can be shared? No. Can you run one validator node and have both the public license reward for it? Yes, I think. I'm not sure I fully understand that question, but I think it's yes. Pre-sale is planned for in around a month. When will tranche 1 of licenses be sold? Right after. Right after is the right answer. Question, will SPS rank rewards be given to all players or players with staked SPS only? And will it give more to the players with more stake in the game? It hasn't been fully designed yet, so I can't tell you. I want there to be heavy requirements for staking. So my guess is that you'll have a bunch that you can earn, but if you're not staking enough, you can't earn it all. That's my guess, but until that's written in a post somewhere, it's not official or formal. Any collabs in the near future? Magic the Gathering had some collabs with Godzilla, Street Fighter, anime-themed expansion with Kamigawa. Do we see any in the plans that can happen? Well, yeah, I mean, next is Waka was one. Here's another that's coming out hopefully soonish. And then once we have that sort of standard licensing agreement, I think it'll be easy to bring in more. Will nodes be able to be won in rank rewards? I don't think so. What's the status of the legendary summoners? Are they all ready? Can we see some stats, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, I think last time I was like, well, let's wait till we sell more packs, and as we get closer to each legendary summoner starts, showing some leaks and some art and this and that. But I think you or the community at large doesn't want to wait. So I'll start sharing more of that in the upcoming town halls. We don't have to wait that long.
Yeah, we should get it out. If you know what our next summoner looks like, and if we can get Matt nailed down on the stats, we should get that out sooner rather than later. Question, can you spread out your vote over multiple validators? I haven't seen the tech on that, but my guess is yes, because we'll take a lot of this off of Hive, and you can vote for more than one validator. Hive is a little dumb where you can vote for 30 validators and there's 20 in the top. So that's a little bit broken to me. I think the number that you can vote for should be less than the number needed for consensus. But I don't know. Probably yes. Why did the pack price double from $2 to $4? Is this just a cash grab? Wouldn't cheaper packs make the game more accessible to new players? Maybe, but they devalue the existing cards more. So we didn't want to flood the market with cheap cards just so that we can get paid. And we also want to make sure that there's enough cards to exist over time. So no, it's not a cash grab. We've been freaking working at this for 4 years. We're past like stupid little cash grabs. But I don't agree with the logic. All right. Contracts are being signed currently. All right, there we go. Cheddar's saying that. All right, is there any plan on making a new player retention better tutorial, or some other measure to help new players grasp the game faster? I have huge problems in referral retention, even though I hold their hand, delegate them cards, and give them free DEC. I can't seem to make them keep playing the game. I think that's ranked rewards. I don't think people are having a hard time figuring it out. Maybe there's some of that, but I think once they see that they're earning decent returns for their time and energy and the cards that they own, I think that'll be a big deal.
I will say on the creative side, we do have an eye towards that because UX exists within the creative side, and so we're looking at, the dream has always been to not just stop at that first tutorial, but to incorporate little mini tutorials every time you try something new in the game. And it's just that it's always been on the back burner because we always have these new other updates that could add more value, and it'll get the players more excited about what's happening. But it's not completely off the radar either. I mean, hopefully someday soon you'll see little tutorial type stuff happening and changes to the existing tutorial, which we probably have to do anyways, because as we change rank rewards and modern wild and all that stuff, some of the aspects, or even hiding the opponent, some of the aspects of the existing tutorial will then become obsolete, and we're gonna have to tweak those things. So while we do so, we'll take that opportunity to try to improve what we can.
Why are the daily and season rewards so low? I also watch people who stream Splinterlands, and the dailies and season are not even worth $1, even if they reach gold. Not everyone is rich enough to reach champion or diamond. Well, I mean, we're doing a whole rewards rework. We'll see what they stay as. I mean, all these things are cyclical. I think Bitcoin dropping from 70,000 to 40,000 wasn't great, but the trick is that you don't worry about the price of the asset until the time that you actually need to sell it. So like accumulate whatever you can at whatever price you can, and then hold on, like help the game grow. And when the damn thing is hot and popular exploding, then consider selling at that point. If all you're doing is just tracking this by like the penny at whatever moment you're at, I think you're missing a little bit about how crypto cycles work. How is the stream team process going? There are still gaps on the schedule. Who's the head of that action? Cheddar? He's muted.
Yeah, you guys hear me? Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
For stream team related items, everything's going to be going to Rondon.
But do you want to give any update on how it's going?
You want me to jump in on that?
For sure.
Yeah, if you're free to answer, come answer the question.
Yeah, so we do have some gaps in the schedule, and that's mainly because of managing a 24/7 streaming platform is not just a one-man job. It does take multiple people to be around to make sure that things are moving smoothly. There's a million different problems that can happen between OBS, between internet service providers, between servers, and between software that you kind of need somebody around the clock to handle this kind of stuff. So scaling up to 24/7 is in the future. It is something that we're going to do, but we can't do it until we have processes in place, staff trained, and contracts signed, and all that fun stuff, all the fun bureaucratic stuff that needs to happen before you can actually realize the goals. But that is all stuff that has been taking place in the background. And we have a whole batch of people on a waiting list ready to fill those slots. So, expect that to happen very soon.
Like filling out schedules. How's it going so far? Is this meeting your expectations, below your expectations? How do you see it all going?
So far it's actually going quite great. We've almost got 700 subscribers on Twitch already, which is absolutely crazy for something like this. And it just keeps growing. It keeps our streamers. We have a lot of great streamers, and they're really enthusiastic, really professional, and it's actually quite entertaining if you get to chance to go check it out.
All right, thanks, Ron. Any progress on the non-card market? We want to trade stuff for DEC in game. It's being worked on. I'm supposed to get an update on that soon. I'd rather let the guys building it talk to it. So hopefully in the not too distant future, the devs will rotate in and they can answer that directly.
Well, I can't say UI is being actively worked on.
Oh,
right
good.
As we speak.
Sweet. Get on it, Roy. Let's see what this thing looks like. All right. Any progress with adding devs to Stream Team to have them draw on stream? Yeah, we get there's all kinds of problems getting devs on Stream Team. Everything will explode. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, if somebody wants to do it once a month, that's fine, but guests, not hosts. Crypt Keeper is asking, how awesome would a Netflix type show be of a hypothetical behind the scenes of a group of people crazy enough to create a decentralized game that has weekly town hall meetings and have to answer many of the same questions every week? Yeah, if you have people at Netflix, come send them our way.
Sounds like The Office.
Can you tell us a sport that this athlete plays? Don't say curling or polo. They're actually playing polo curling. So they're curling on horseback. It's an amazing sport. No, I can't tell you what that is. We're running out of time here, so definitely no more questions. When our tech support concerns get to the Wizards, who do we reach out to directly to get updates and news? I don't understand that. When our tech support concerns get sent to the Wizards, who do we reach out to directly?
It's like, who's that second layer of contact after you've been told, hey, the devs are looking into it?
Yeah, I mean, if the devs are looking into it, there's nothing new that's going to like magically pop up. I would just wait another day or something until you get a response back from support and just handle it internally. You know, if like people sidestep and they come to me and they're like, hey, Aggie, come make this happen. Like, there are very rare circumstances where that actually makes things go faster. I would just stick with the process because we've been pretty good about knocking out tickets and moving things along. Snackaholic is asking, are you planning to accept farm token as a payment method for Splinterlands? Currently, the volume is just so low that it doesn't make sense to do that. You know, our traditional volume is something like hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. If it gets up to that, like any other token, we'll accept it. Question, do you plan to sell nodes for Tranche 2 in case pre-sale and Tranche 1 sold out quickly? I mean, we'll sell nodes through all the tranches. I'm not sure what that question is. With the huge supplies, Chaos Legions, I believe 50 million, how will card prices appreciate when there are too many copies of each card in circulation? Yeah, well, the game grows and people combine them, and then the number of cards in circulation shrinks. And then there's not enough cards for everybody. And then we put out land, and everybody needs cards on land. And then we put out another game. Everybody needs cards on those games. And there's just never enough cards because we keep adding cards and we keep adding more use cases for them. So that's kind of how we make the sausage. Okay. Anybody have any thoughts that they want to add to sort of head us on out of here? Nate's looking like a yes. Hit us up, Nate.
No, just yay, go team, go. SPS.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you guys are excited about that. Hopefully you guys have heard the passion that this team has. Hopefully you guys understand what we're trying to build here. And there's a lot of steps and it's hard work and nobody's ever done it before. And it's all research and development, but we're cranking away. We're getting new stuff out. We're getting new partners. And we just have, pretty sweet plans that help get this whole thing going. So, my family is healthy and well. We're expecting another kid here. Technically we're at 44 weeks. That's probably wrong, but that's what it's felt like this has been forever. But hopefully we'll have a new addition to our family and to the Splinterlands ecosystem. And please keep us in your hearts and prayers. And I don't know. That's what I got for this week. Thanks for everybody being here. Thanks for playing the game. Thanks for being part of our community. For the guys that are working on this project, thanks so much. To Pluck and Chowda, thanks for coming on and introducing yourselves. And helping us get to know the people that are building this thing with us. So that's what I got. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week, and I'll see you next Monday.